Look familiar? Gentlemen, this is Mr. Worthmore's Worthmore. We repaired this a few months ago and sent it off to the customer. And you'll never guess what happened with 40 meters. Died again. Specifically what died is this 330 puff capacitor, which was right here. Okay. It's the one that we overhauled the capacitors in the middle and made them metal clad. Well, that cap went bad. Well, this guy's keying it and goes, I don't understand why it's not putting out. It works on all bands except for this one. And I think he might have popped another pill. Let me get you guys down here on a little bit lower level because we got to look at the analyzer here for a minute. I want to show you guys something. Okay, so let's start here. Let's go on and zoom on in here. Now what we've got is all the way over here. This chart represents SWR. Figure it out, camera. There we go. This chart represents SWR. Down here is 1, here is 10. And we're going from 0 to 50 megahertz. So from here is 0 megahertz, and over here is 50. Okay. So let's turn the amp on. We've got it selected for 160 meters. Supposedly, let's see. Supposedly this thing works great on 160 meters. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the middle of the 160 meter band. So we're looking at the little red indicator, this little hash mark, and then we're looking over here to show what our SWR is, and this is our frequency. So roughly in the 160 meter band, if I'm not mistaken, which I'm mistaken all the time. Yeah, 160 is like 1.7 to 1.9 or 1.8 to 1.9. Close enough. There's 1.9. It's a 2.83. Otherwise, sucks. It should be almost all the way down here at 0. And then a complete cutoff. The whole point behind this bridge network, or this filter board, is to only pass the frequency that we want to put into it. So it should cut off everything above it. Still, a 2.8 is almost a 3, right? So now we'll go ahead and we'll jump over to 80. So that's 160. Now we're going to flip the band switch. We're going to go to 80. Well, let's get up there around the 3 megahertz range. It's got an SWR of 7. Now we'll go to 40. So now 40's got throughput. When I first started, you couldn't put anything even through it. So we'll just say roughly in the 7 megahertz range. It's got an SWR of 6. Now I'll go to 20, which is 14, which she goes, oh, 20 works great. Imagine that, it's got an SWR of 2. On the low end of the band, it's got like a 1.9, right? Let's go to 15. Now we got a bell curve. We'll go to aux, which would be 10, 11 meters, 12, 11, and 10, right? I am tired of seeing this amplifier here. And this board is now, in theory, working. This is the signal from the analyzer, and this is the signal out to the dummy load. So in theory, and it goes 80 through aux. 80 through aux. Our 40 meter band, we keep having problems with it. I want to get the SWR for 40 meters low, because the Toshibas that are in this box are not cheap. My main goal behind the last video was to make this thing work. Well, we made it work, but then we had another freaking part failure. This cap. This one right here. Went wide open. It's 2 point something puff. It should be 330, so I put another 330 in there. So now we're completely setting stock. I want to sit here for a few minutes, and I want to play with the 40 meter filter the 40 millimeter notch, the 40 millimeter bandpass. Boy howdy, I gotta tell you, I released the last video I left the comments on, which is fine. I'm comment away. Beat me up in the doobly doober. I don't care. I'm secure in my manhood. I like girls. I'm good with that. This one guy just could not let it go that I kept referring to it as a band pass or low pass or whatever pass. This is a notch, resonant notch filter. Okay, it lets this frequency go by and nothing above it, and this frequency go by and nothing above it, and this frequency go by and nothing above it. And so I finally went to this guy in the comment section and said, hey, bro, is it more important that I understand how the circuit works and I have the ability to repair it because I understand how the circuit works, or is it more important to you that I use the exact terminology that you deem appropriate? Which is more important? And that I have the skill set to explain it to the masses. He responded to me with crickets. All I could hear was chirp, 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 chirp. Nothing. He didn't want to engage me in a conversation. He just wanted to show up, sound authoritarian, talk smack, and then leave. And I think if we had less of that in the radio community, we'd all be better off as a whole. Just saying. Let's do keep in mind I'm one of the few people left on Earth that's willing to work on most of this stuff. So let's be calm and let's be constructive with our comments, or otherwise I'll call you out on Front Street and make you look like an idiot. Just saying. I want to play with the filter board, the bandpass board, the notch board, the selectable low pass frequency board, however you want to play it. I want to go, I'm going to make 40 my child, okay? This guy likes 40. The lower we can get this notch, I mean, let's be fair. And the lower we can get this notch with the steeper rejection on the upper end, the better this amplifier is going to work. The problem that we're having is that this amp is beating itself to death because every time you switch a band, it's going into something higher than an SWR of 3. I don't know about all of you guys. My little antenna analyzer only puts out 1/4 of a milliwatt, right? Or whatever. It's a tiny little amount of energy. Why would you want to go and put 1,000 watts into a 3 SWR and then expect the finals to live? I'm going to go play. I want to see what I got to do to alter 40, and then maybe we'll alter the rest of the bands. We'll see. Okay. So this is 80 meter band. Here's 160, which is horrible. We're going to fix all of this. This has really annoyed me. This amp has started to annoy me. So here's 80. Now look at 40. If I'm not mistaken, 40 is somewhere around 7 megahertz range, right? I'll take that. 1.0. Top end of the band. If I'm not mistaken, is around 174, whatever. Yep. See, what we're trying to create is a trap. I don't want anything above, and I want nothing below. So an SWR of 2, a nice little hump, that dip right there is beautiful. All I had to do to achieve that was, let's come over here, had to add a 330 here, add a 330 here, take a 330 out here, take a turn out here, and take a turn out here. Okay, so anybody that wants to try and re-emulate this on their end, 330, 330, 330, 330, 330, let's see, a 150, 250, and a 330. Took a turn out, took a turn out. Without taking the 2 turns out of this, I couldn't get my low harmonic cut here, and it would not pass past 6.9 megahertz. So by taking one turn out, I could probably afford to take another turn out of here and another turn out of here, and it would get rid of this second hump in here, and it would push the frequency over just a hair. But we're going to run it like this. I know how to tune this now. I got my head wrapped around this now. So I guess instead of looking at Playboys and Penthouse, I was busy looking at the ARRL ham manual when I was a kid. So I guess it pays to think like RF. Here's 20 meters, which isn't great. Which isn't teabag. It's a 1.9, but we're going to get it better than that. 15. Yeah. Of course, aux, which is basically a direct pass-through. We can come here and just tweak the capacitance a little bit. I want to go play here. I want to make it so 80 is resonant and actually will work. Let's see, that'd be 3. We'll say 3 dot. What's AM call? 3.884, 3.85, something like that. It has a pass-through ratio of a 9, so basically almost a 10 SWR. Remember, this whole job, this board's job is to not let the frequency above go through. Okay? It shouldn't do anything more than that. It shouldn't really affect the signal dramatically like this. This is horrible. I mean, if you were transmitting on this, I don't care if your antenna is tuned out at a 0 SWR with a bullshit match machine, and what I mean by that is an antenna tuner. You guys understand that an antenna tuner, all that does is it makes your equipment think that everything's okay. It doesn't actually change the resonance of the antenna in any way. Never has, never will, never gonna. It's in a book. It's like reading Rainbow or something, you know. It's in a book. Read it. Take a look. It's in a book. It's reading Rainbow. It's in the ham manual. It says it very clearly, and I'm sure somebody's going to call me on that, and I'm going to have to go look it up. But this is not an antenna tuner. This is like a bandpass notch filter. I mean, we're going to want to let, for here, 160 and nothing above it. Here, 80 and nothing above it. 40 and nothing above it, which 40 and nothing above it. It hits a frickin' brick wall and goes to infinite up here. This all the way up here at the top is an SWR 30 plus. Nothing's passing that. The RF's going to be like, no, resistance too high, I'm scared. But then, where we want to have the amplifier do its job, between these two valleys, it's a nice sweet tune. Okay, so now that I've really explained this like 3 or 4 times, and everybody understands what I'm trying to achieve, this is just an experiment. It's on me. I'm making notes. So if this doesn't work any better, I can change it back. I can. I mean, the owner of this amplifier isn't going to be pissed. All he wants to do is have his equipment work right. So let's go over here, and we'll shoot for 3 dot. I didn't do it. The boogeyman made those things, parts fall off the wall. I mean, even in a 40 meter position, figure it out, camera. You're screwing up the flow. Even in the 40 meter position, we have a better SWR than when we have it in the 80 meter position. See this? We want to make this little bubble drop down here to 0. We'll be back. Okay, just so I've got notes, I pulled the, right here, I took the 500 puff cap out, I took the 1000 puff out cap out here, took 2 turns out of this, 2 turns out of this, and added a 330 here. Okay, you guys are going to love this. I'm tickled. Okay. Let's see, we had an 8.9 or something, I think was our pass-through tune. Let's see here. So we're on 160 meters. Ready? Now, it's a 1.2, 1.3 SWR. So we'll advance our freaks just a little bit here. And about 4.2 megahertz, we've got a really, we want to create a little valley notch. So from about 3 megahertz on up, it's the AM call frequency here if I'm not mistaken. As a 1.3, then it drops down to 1.0, but then it hits a shear wall. Now that number, this number isn't like completely finite. This isn't going to be exactly the way, because the output tune of your antenna is going to change it. So you got to create a little bit of an overlap frequency. But as we can clearly see, is basically a brick wall. And if I remember correctly, we had an SWR of 9. Well, now we got an output ratio of about into the 60s. So here we'll go back into the 40 meter band. Here's 40 meters. Same thing, nice solid wall, right where we want to be. So we're back up into the 40s and 50s. RF won't go that way. I don't know how he said it was working on 80 meters. That's, I mean, SWR of 8, 9. That's just scary. Anyhow, 80's done. Let's go look at 160. I think it's 1.8, if I remember correctly, back when I had to read a book. That ain't teabag. It's only a 5. Let's see. I have a feeling I'm going to have to remove some capacitance here. Probably pull a little bit out of here. Oh, and I added a 330 here. Pull a little inductor, pull some capacitance, so that we can get ourselves a really good clean operating frequency in there. I don't care. This is going to run way better than what it was. There's going to be a whole lot less pressure on these caps and a whole lot less failures over in the RF side of things. Now that we're not dumping our load directly into an SWR 10, which is basically what was going on before. So, okay, let's go see if we can get a 5.6. Let's see if we can get a roll on 5.6. I think I can. This is almost getting really fun at this point, because I'm doing each section faster and faster now. So I understand where he was off and how he was thinking now. I'm inside his brain. Okay, this is the entire 80 meter frequency, or 160 meter frequency. We're on 160 here, so it's illuminated. And what we got going on this board right now is a 1.4 SWR across the band. So now if I take and I change the center to, we'll say 5 megahertz, enter, and then we'll take our span and we're going to change it to, we'll also say 5 megahertz, enter, and then center, let's see, center, 2 megahertz, enter. We will see at the beginning of the 80 meter band, we'll just say it's going to be roughly about 1.5, but look at the shelf that we've created. Look at this. So from 0 megahertz, which is all down here on the green marker, all the way down here at the bottom is a 1.0, and then all the way up here at about 1.8, 1.9, it starts climbing. And it's going to start rejecting signal really hard about 2 megahertz. Look at that, perfect cut. I mean perfect cut. Let's go back over here and we'll look at this again. Say 1.6. So that's the entire 160 meter band between these two markers. And then it goes to infinite. It doesn't let anything past. Just by changing some caps. Now what I did is I took a turn out of here, I pulled a 12 2700 puff capacitor off of here. I pulled a 1000 puff capacitor, so 3700 puffs worth of capacitance here. And then off here, I took a 500 puff. So 500, a turn, 3700 puff, and a turn. And now, whatever we put in here for 160 meters will pass through, but everything else says no go. So center, we'll say 25 megahertz. And then span, we'll say 50 megahertz. That's what it looks like. That's that same shelf that we were just looking at with it zoomed out. Thou shalt not pass. It's a brick wall. So here's 160, here's 80, here's 40. Now let's go unmess 20. So we'll take our green cursor, which is this bottom one, so you can read this. It's reading right here. M2, measurement number 2. It's current SWR, capacitance, all that stuff. So we'll say it's actually not T-bag. That's this here. I bet you we can do a mite better though. Let's see here. Okay, so here we are in 20 meters, which is like 14 point something to 14 point nothing. We're at 14 nothing. And we're already out of bands. So it's a 1.3. But that's a good solid shelf, nice and clean. All we had to do here was change the spacing of the windings here, change the spacings of the windings here, and we added a 100 puff cap here on the output side. So let's go over here and let's look at 15 meters now. So everything's Gucci. This is 160, 80, 40, now 20, which is perfect. Let's go play with 15. But it sure don't give us a lot of frequency resonance in the 15 megahertz or the 15 meters band. I mean, they just don't, man. It's sitting here. I'm looking at the frequency chart because I couldn't remember it off the top of my head. Man, middle of the night. It's 1:30 in the morning, you guys. Phone rang all day today, but I helped quite a few guys. Oh man. So that it's like 21 megahertz through 21.45. Yeah, 21 through 21.45, close enough. We're talking an SWR of 1.1 or a 1.2 through the entire operating frequency, and you can see very quickly that we get ourselves in a position where the standing wave is going to actually do us a little bit of good. So we've got ourselves a pretty decent notch. I mean, if we were to round this off, we'd see we got ourselves a nice slope. I don't know, I gotta say this too. I don't really think that this is gonna stay linear like this once we put it into operation. Although I do have that technology. I've just got to simply put a bird meter between the amplifier and the band board, and I can adjust it accordingly. But for right now, we're a whole lot closer than what we were. I had to change our windings, and I had to add 75 puff worth of capacitance to the middle tune section. So high, low trap, capacitance balance to flip it back into resonance, and then in the middle we can do a little bit of tuning for the actual where we want the choke to land. So it's looking pretty Gucci now. We're looking really good. 160's looking good, 80's looking good, 40's looking great, 20's looking awesome, and now 15 meters, which this was a... So we got that fingered out. Now the aux position, which is wide open. We're going to try to trap this for 28 megahertz. I'm going to try. I'm going to do diligence where it's like 28 and I'm going to try. I'm going to try to walk that line. There's some ham guys out there that right now are just like, I could just make it a straight feed through. Just feed straight through. That'd just, you know, one piece of wire and a little bit of capacitance to compensate for the inductor bump, but I am going to try to maybe critique this so it makes a little bit more sense. Let's go ahead and get our measurement here at 28 megahertz. There's 30. So we'll say from 30. So they give us so much frequency up here, but that's like a lot of room on 10 meters compared to all the other bands as far as frequency that they give us hunks for. But anywho, away we go. You ever hear that story about the old man? There was this village back when, and they had this big complex machine. And they had all the experts from all across the world come and try to figure out why this machine wasn't working. The machine broke. So they had all the so-called experts show up and spend days and weeks and months trying to figure out how to make the machine work again. None of them could get it done. So finally they dredged up the hill and they asked the old man, "Can you please come fix the machine one more time?" So the old man grabs up his old bucket of tools, walks down the hill to the machine, walks to the machine, pulls out the smallest little hammer, walks over to the machine and taps it on the side of the case, and the thing starts working. Puts his hammer back into his bag and says, "That'll be $1 million. And they're like, "What? No, we had all these other experts come. They didn't charge us anything like that." Well, old man looks at him and goes, "None of them got it working right, did they?" I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm going to say I got out my little tiny hammer and I hit it a little bit, and I think this is going to work a whole lot better than what it was when it came in here. I don't know why I didn't bother to go through the band board. I think it was because I just hooked it up to the spectrum analyzer and saw that it was actually notching and cutting out the frequencies it needed to. I don't remember. I got to go back and look at the other video. But this band board has been the cruxus of a lot of our problems. That's 160 meters. There's 80. There's 40. There's 20. There's 15. That's aux. I want this to be as high as I can get it to go. I don't want to make that straight pass through. I want to make this as high as I can get it. So about 56 megahertz, there's like an infinite null. Most radios, because of the way that they're set up internally, produce a little bit of garbage at 56 megahertz, as everybody knows. There's a little harmonic hump that comes out of every radio. I don't want to trap that. So this band took a little bit more work. I had to pull the coils off and rewrap them. I added 50 puff worth of capacitance here. I took a turn out here. Had to rewrap this. This did not want to be spread apart like a slinky, nor did this one really. Yeah, I think that we're at a healthy starting place, and those are good numbers. I feel that's a very healthy place to be. 1.0, and as you'll see, it stays clean. I mean, 1.1 goes down a little bit lower. Wink, wink. But the main thing is that I want this. I I want it to climb off into infinity up here. And it's just going to keep going the higher we go in frequency. We want to keep anything above 30 megahertz pretty much trapped and say no go. Now, I say this all the time, and I can't lose track of where I'm at in the universe. This little machine is great up to about the 300, 400 watt range. These numbers will stay relatively the same. After that, you end up having the voltage changes so dramatically from what this machine's producing to, oh, I'm going to be back in here compensating a little bit. So I'm not getting rid of any of these caps. I've got a visual, like right now, visual recording of what the caps, where they came from, the turns I removed. Just in case I got to come back and add some mag wire, I got to add some caps, but I don't want to ever see this amplifier again. And if all I got to do is spend 3 or 4 hours working with it to get this right, I mean, some of these were just like so far out of whack. I mean, for a ham guy to work his amplifier into a SWR of a 9 on 80, and on 40, the problem child, we had an SWR of like 7 or 8 just input into this board. I can see why we were constantly having failures. I mean, at this point, the last time it came in here was because these caps failed. This time it came back because that cap failed. I mean, let's be real about it. We have to look at this and go, at some point we have to recognize that the board might be the problem, and we might want to think about changing it a little bit to see if we can get it to work better. These short ass leads drive me crazy in the fact that they're made of this cheap ass wire. I understand they're cheap, it barely gets the job done. I might make up some RG400 to change this around. Let's see, the blue lead is input, so that goes here. Black lead's output, so that goes there. We will pick this up tomorrow. It is 2:30 in the morning. I'm going to move on. Appreciate you guys hanging in there with me on part 2. I thought we had this thing licked, but I'm pretty sure tomorrow we're going to find that we've got over here a bad transistor someplace. I don't have any burned 100 ohm resistors, but he says the output in the note. And speaking with this guy several times on the phone, who's been very, very, very cool, by the way. I'm like, here, try this, here, try that. It works everywhere, but okay. I replaced the 2 relays and the mica cap, 500 volt 1% on the 40 meter trace. It keyed up with power output with a 10 watt drive on 40 meters and fell out. When the driver was released, when the drive was increased, I don't know why you do that, to 30 watts, then it wouldn't key up again on 40 meters. Yeah, so this cap broke down and then it burned up completely and it shorted. The other bands all key up. He's using a Palomar dummy load. I found a mica cap next to the rear pill back here that was unsoldered apparently. Resoldered it to ground, didn't make any difference though. You had it working great in the video. Not sure if something else loosened in the shipping. Okay. This guy has been so kind and so patient. I really want to throw everything at the phone book at it. Like if I've got it in my index of tools, we're going to put it at this. Like tomorrow, before I come out here and I put this back together and we start testing stuff, I hope he didn't pop a pill. I hope it's just this cap that ended up having a problem. Toshibas are expensive and that thing's a pain in the ass to take apart. So there's a lot of motivation behind let's not getting this any more effed up than we have to. But we know for a fact the RF coming out of here going into this thing was a whack job. So now we'll be able to get the RF through it a lot easier. Hopefully that'll help. Maybe we'll see a little bit more power out of it. We'll see. Tomorrow will tell. before I go any further tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll pull this off. I'm going to wash it with like 91% rubbing alcohol. I'm going to come back and make sure all my solder joints on it are perfect. I do not want this guy to have any more problems with this. I just don't. We were initially thinking that it was a problem with one of the relays. Something happened in shipping. That ended up not being the case. Then we thought it was a bad cap. Then it was. You replaced that cap. Blah, 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 blah. This being so far out of tune, that could explain why this cap was trying to compensate and blew up. I don't know. We'll find out. Find out tomorrow. All I know, bedtime now. See you guys in the morning. Well, I got this figured out. It's the next morning, by the way, y'all. Let's get these adapters out of here. Let's get this out of the equation for now, although I'm sure I'll be back with this in a minute. Set that over there. Good morning. Got up this morning and went and grabbed my daughter from her second job, and we went fireworks shopping today. Boy howdy, I'm here to tell you, it just don't buy what it used to. I'm telling you, inflation's a thing. It is real. I'm here to share with you all. Inflation is a real thing. Man, I just spent my yearly budget on fireworks, and I feel like I was only able to buy about a third of what I used to buy. Ooh, Lord. Anywho. So we have a big old knockdown, drag-out party over here for the 4th every year. Well, being the way things are, I know that shit's gonna get weird when it comes to prices on stuff. Okay, so I got sole control of what we're doing here. Let's quit talking about that hot mess and let's talk about this here. Put our little BNC in here to bypass our relay board for the moment. Let's grab our FLIR. FLIR. A spectrum analyzer and radio. All right. So as we're waiting for this stupid thing to boot, let's get our units of measure out of the way. 1,000 watt slug in peak, 1,000 in average, 5 watt slug in reverse. We're going to use the bench 2950 to create some power to like 28 megahertz. No big deal, because that's not what we're here for, is to see how much power it's putting out. That's not what we're here to look at. We're here to energize the circuit. Oh, we got heating over here in the output combiner. Those transistors are working. Those transistors are working. Those transistors are working. Those are working. Hello, audio. Okay. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Input tune is nominal. Amplifier seems to be working, all the sections. There is some kind of imbalance going on someplace. We'll figure that out in a hot minute. Maybe had a cap breakdown or something. Had it plugged in all friggin' night. It just unplugged it now. Let me fight with my FLIR. I'll quit wasting your guys' time. Hold on a second. So after a very long, extensive day of twiddly dicking around with this thing, and I had to get my big roll of mag wire out, like 5 or 6 rolls like that, because you never know when you're going to need mag wire. I put a bird watt meter between the amp and the board and ran an amp full chooch into it. And of course, it's like I predicted last night on video, I was going to have to change quite a few things, which I did. I got this thing doing roughly 800 to 1,000 watts all the way across the band. The input swirls going into the board are acceptable. 40 meter band can kiss my nutsack. I've just had it with this freaking, it's working, nothing's burning up, everything's okay. So let's start out on 160 meters. So I'm going to shoot this in one continuous shot, by the way. 160, it's a 1,000 watt slug in peak, 1,000 in average, 5 watt slug in reverse. So I do 1, 2. We're going to put about 80, 90 watts into it out of the good old ICOM 7600 bench or 7300 bench radio. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so making 600 watts there. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Let's go ahead and come up to 80. Bleep, 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 sideband, full power, bleep. Okay. So now we've come up to 80. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Input swirl is good. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 750 watts somewhere in there. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So what I'm getting at is there's no dirt over here on this end of the spectrum. It's all contained down here. So let's go to 20. No, 40. Let's go to 40. Yeah. So now we're here on 40. Now I spent a lot of time totally farting around with 40. Okay. 40 has seen the most love. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, I can get this amp to make a whole lot more power like I did last time by simply screwing up the input swirl on the pass-through board. Honest, no lie. Get this thing to make like 1,500 watts just like that. If I simply fold this down so you guys can see what the hell we're doing here. If I simply compress these coils together, bleep, I do 1,400 watts, but then the input is like, you put 100 watts in it and you're getting 35 watts back to the amplifier, which is bad. It's really bad. What I mean is I can put 100 watts into the amplifier. The amplifier is going to make its mess, but it's getting 35 to 40 watts worth of input reflag. So I call that false power. I'm getting harmonics and resonance and stuff. It's just getting trapped here, and that's why these stupid caps keep cooking. I'm going to send back the little bag with all the caps in it that have been changed or modified or whatever. So, I mean, just in case you need them, but we're running right on shelf. I found that by me getting the input, I keep saying input, but the pass-through SWR in this thing right, it was really about 1,000 watts best is what we're going to get out of this. But this should work for like ever now. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, 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 hello. All the dirt's contained. Let's go to 40. 14 megahertz. Da da ba da dee da boo. Okay. Radio, hello, 1 2 1 2. Amplifier, hello, 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 1 2 1 2. Let's go look at the power level. Radio, hello, 1 2. Amplifier, hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Your 20 and 40 meter bands is where this amp's going to be the happiest, I do feel. Let's go look at this. Hello, 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 hello. Okay. So nothing to get excited to write to girls at prom about, nothing like that. So now let's go to 21 megahertz. Sideband, power 100%. Okay. Radio, hello, 1 2. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Oh, something just went pop pop. What happened? All right, so what we just heard go pop was there was a 75 and a 50 puff capacitor that was right here. And we went ahead and replaced it with 1,000, like a 1 kV cap instead. And I think we're back up here and running. So hello, 1 2 1 2. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Very clean. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll go to 10 meters. 10. And let's see here. Lower sideband. Yep. Power up. Yep. Okay. Hello, audio. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Radio power. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Oh, where are we going? There we go. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. All right. So, hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Focus up. Focus, focus, focus. There we go. Hello, 1 2 1 2. Yay, clapping chimp. All right. Now, I know there's going to be another layer of freaking pain in the ass, because I got to put it in a cabinet. So we're going to take a metal surface that's grounded, and we're going to put it with an insulating material between RF conductor and a cabinet. Sounds like a capacitor to me. Sounds like a capacitor to me, I'm just saying. You know, when I was a kid, I used to play around with spreading coils and changing all kinds of stuff just to see what it would do. Now as an adult, and having all the tools and a whole lot more firm grasp of understanding of things, I guess would be the best way to put it. It gives me a more fond appreciation from when my Elmers used to go, no, don't touch that. Now I understand why, because sometimes the difference between the windings being that far apart and that far apart makes the difference between it working or not working at all. And I got that lesson handed to me in spades with this particular piece of equipment. We're going to run it through the 160 through aux position here together. And as I'm doing that, we're going to talk. So it's going to be a little bit of a pause between videos, between this one and the next one that comes out. I mean, I might slip a little repair in there, but I've got a project that I need to go work on. 160 meters with 100 watts of, or 80 watts of drive. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. This involves the legacy of my friend, my teacher, and my mentor. This involves the last of its set that I'm sure anybody's ever going to see on the market. Run 80 meters, 100 watts of drive. Hello, audio, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. This is a project that I couldn't believe got handed to me. And I've already done a bunch of legwork on it. The way it's going to be shot is going to be completely different than anything you guys have ever seen me do before, as far as the video is concerned. 40 meters, 100 watts of drive. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 audio 1 2 1 2. It's just going to be different. I am really proud of being able to get involved in this project that's coming up. 20 meters, 100 watts of drive. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 audio 1 2. This guy's a big 20 and 40 meter fanatic. I spent a lot of time trying to get 20 and 40 just right, especially 40. I am sick and tired of 40 giving this guy a hard time. I've had this box fail during testing. I've had it fail 19 different ways since it's been here the last 3 days. And yeah, I took 3 days to work on this because I want it to be right. I thought I had it nailed the first time. Apparently I did not. And that's the one thing I tell people when they come and they say, man, I want to try and do what you do. If you fail, embrace it. Learn from it. Don't be ashamed of it and show it. Wear it on your shoulder like a badge of honor, because that means you've only been presented with one more opportunity to learn. Oh, let's see. 15. Look, this next coming project that isn't going to define me in any way. It's going to be totally fun for you guys to watch. But it is going to require quite a bit of work on my side of the street, and it's going to take a little bit of time, and I want to do this right because I'm only going to have one opportunity. It's not a Texas Star, you know, where there's 100 of them, 1,000 of them that come through here a year. It's not a X-Force or a Fat Boy where there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, thousands of them. Just give me time. Believe me, cool stuff is coming. Hello, 1 2 1 2 audio 1 2. It took me a long time to understand that I was never going to get the input into the band board completely flat. Because the amplifier section of this amp is set up to be so broad, it will produce harmonics. It will. And the pass-through board can only do so much. And its job is to trap the harmonics that are above our notch frequencies, just to stop them. And that the input tune of this band board has very little to do with some of the signal that's coming out of the amplifier. It was a lot. I learned a lot here. But like I was telling the customer, if you end up having a problem in any of these bands, as we go forward in their progression in the frequency, now we're in the aux position, we're in 10 meters, not in 11, in 10. Aux is primarily set so that everything goes through it except for about 32 megahertz and up. So if you have another one of the bands fail, just quickly spin it over to aux and see what you have for output power. That's a quick, easy, dirty test to see if you've had either a pill go down or if it's something with the band board. Aux, 10 meters, 100 watts of drive. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. I'm operating it like this without the foot pedal for a reason. I'm proving that the auto key circuit works. The whole time through testing I use the foot pedal, so I know for a fact it works. We upgraded the fans in the last video. I think that this is a good solid attempt, and I feel very comfortable if I send this out there in the world that this is going to last. And if he has any problems, I only can pray that he's willing to send it back here again and allow me to have the opportunity to try and figure that out, because every single time I work on this box it seems like I learn a bunch. Even though the amp section is very basic, the bandpass board is very basic, I for some reason managed to pull some nuggets of knowledge out of every time I interface with this amp. I don't know why, I just do. I think it's probably because this is more of a free flow box. It's not based off a schematic of anywhere. It's based off of what Worthmore had in his head. And there's no piece of paper that says that this cap has to be this amount of capacitance and this tuner has to have this much inductance to it. There's a little bit of fudge room to play, and that's what I enjoy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to put this back into the radio universe, and we'll go from there. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in and watching the legacy repair of this thing. Hopefully it doesn't come back, but if it does, it's going to be another opportunity for me to learn or teach myself a little bit something else, a new trick, something else to think about. And in the long haul, it benefits all of you guys. Gentlemen, I'll see you. Big shout out to XS, Siglant, McMahon, Berg, Coaxial Dynamics. And gentlemen, thanks to you guys down here at the Patreon channel for helping me make all of this production over here happen. And a thanks to all of you for watching. I'll see you. Click, click.